Of dipping into a book for a little bit of self-reflection, find a random sentence from a random book, see what random thoughts it encourages me to bounce towards, which I then spend some of the rest of the day contemplating. Not so much of the rest of the day, because like everyone else, I'm busy. But anyway, it's a little moment of self-reflection. And today the self-reflection will be aided by this book, Impossibility by John D. Barrow, which I've definitely read and remember absolutely nothing about. Tagline is Impossibility, the limits of science and the science of limits. If you are fascinated by the limits of knowledge, you will be richly rewarded by this book, says the new scientist. John D. Barrow, research professor of John D. Barrow is research professor of mathematical science at the Department of Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics at Cambridge. Oh well. Like I say, I know nothing about this book, although I definitely read it. I'm trying to see if I've read any of his others. No, not that I can tell. I don't know why it's on my bookshelf. I don't know why I read it, but I'm sure it was wonderful. Here we go. Let's see what I can find to tell me something about something. I'm on page 77. Joining Bohm in this limitless vision of nature is Eugene Wigner, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. Joining Bohm in this limitless vision of nature is Eugene Wigner, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century. A couple of things interesting there. First of all, Bohm, I think that's Niels Bohm, if I remember rightly. His name keeps coming up. I'm actually reading another book at the moment in the evenings, a conversation between a scientist who became a Buddhist monk and someone from a Buddhist family who became a professor of astrophysics, and it's about the meeting points between quantum and Buddhism. Very interesting. And Bohm's name comes up repeatedly in that. So joining Bohm in this limitless vision of nature, Eugene Wigner, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, one of the greatest of the century who I've never heard of, or at least the name has never registered. You can be really, really amazing at something and yet not be in the public consciousness. Something always useful to remember, that our worth, our value and our success is not measured by necessarily the reach of our reputation or our fame. Always worth remembering in an age of obsessive social mediaing. The thing that really stands out from this sentence, though, is limitless vision of nature, this limitless vision of nature. I look out of the window here onto the remote Irish countryside where I now live. Above that, the sky at night here, particularly in winter, so many stars. There's very little light pollution here. So many stars, billions of them. Tiny specks of light, so small that it's just sort of a splattering, faint splattering of the Milky Way across the sky. This limitlessness, this extraordinary sense that we, each of us, live as a tiny fragment within vastness, way beyond our capacity to remember. And then you get statistics like, the relationship between the nucleus of an atom and the whole size of an atom is the same relationship as between a toothpick and a sports stadium or something. I can't even remember. You get the vastness, the tininess. And here, the noise of self-obsession, the noise of stress and anxiety. I know of no better cure for the descent into anxiety or self-absorption or fear, no better cure than to put myself directly in relationship to a limitless vision of nature. So thought for today, when this afternoon I get away from my desk and I go for a walk. I will walk to the sea And I will stand on the headland and I will look as far as I can out into the Atlantic and realize I am seeing not the tiniest, tiniest fragment of all that there is. And as I look at myself and feel my own limitations, perhaps I will have the good grace to remember that I too have capacities way beyond my own imagining. Thank you, John D. Barrow, for your stimulus to thought. Have a lovely day, one and all.